The biggest bullshit I've heard in the last decade. Bulletproof coffee. What protein we will be eating in this meal? Start asking yourself this question every meal that you eat for the rest of your life. If you live on a lonely island and you can only choose to eat one macronutrient, which one would it be? If you apply it to your breakfast, to your lunch, and to your dinner, I almost can guarantee you that you will start losing weight. Welcome to the next episode of the Limitless Body And Mind podcast. In this episode, you will learn exactly how to lose weight with 3 proven strategies that I frequently use with all my executive clients with busy schedules who don't want to waste time and want sure results. Stick until the end because I will be sharing lots of valuable tips without wasting any of your time. Some of them will be the exact portion size that you need to eat without tracking calories to lose fat, or how to track your calories and macros for less than 5 minutes a day, including the most common myths and mistakes that you want to avoid. So before we dive into any of these strategies and myths, it's important that you understand how fat loss works. And it's actually very simple. Most of you often overcomplicate it, and it's not your fault. We're just not educated at school, like I often say. And we also see a lot of marketing outside in YouTube, on Google, in the news, in men's health magazines, and all these publications which are supposedly giving us the correct information, but all they're doing is they're trying to sell us the narrative which is going to make them a shitloads of money. This is the world we live in. In reality, fat loss, it can't be any simpler than it is. It is really about you consuming less energy than what you're burning. So the fat really is practically calories stored in the form of fat inside the body, and the calories is what we use for energy. We measure the energy with calories, and you can't function without burning calories. You can't be watching to this video right now or listening and without burning calories. You can't be breathing, you can't sleep, you can't move without burning calories. It's impossible. And I say often, we can't make calories out of thin air. It's not possible. The only way we get the calories for us to function is if we consume them. So if you're not consuming these calories, then the body is eating of its own tissues, whatever it has in store as well. And this is the simple explanation. Whenever we eat a little bit more calories than what we need to repair our body, to function, then we tend to store it in the form of glycogen, in the muscles, and glucose in the liver, and when we have a little bit too much, then it starts turning into fat. And this is a simple process. We eat more, it goes into the fat storage. That's as simple as it is. And if we want to get rid of the fat, we need to start eating less and start using the storage. Very simple. For that, we kind of need to know our numbers. We need to know what we're doing. Like I always say, know your numbers. If you haven't watched any of the previous episodes of the podcast, maybe go watch them to see how to track and what you need to be aware of and the mindset you need to have to approach this fat loss journey. But now let's dive into the strategies. I'll go with the first strategy that is super simple, which is managing your portions. And I call it a smart portion control. It comes with a lot of elements, and I will teach you the most basic way to think about it. So the first will be the mindset. When you approach your meals, your breakfast or lunch or dinner, and when you come to the point where you have to decide what to eat, you have to always ask yourself, what is the protein first? Like the question should be, what protein we will be eating in this meal? Start asking yourself this question in every meal that you eat for the rest of your life. It will completely change the way you think about food, and it will keep you fit forever. It's a very simple question. Why protein? I will explain in a minute, but this is the most important part. When you decide what protein you want to eat, think about the plate now. Let's imagine the plate, and you have to fill up a regular plate, and I'm not talking about a family plate, right? Just a regular plate that you usually use. It could be a smaller one, it could be a bigger one. As long as you apply what I'm saying right now, it's going to be absolutely fine. And inside that plate, you need to put the protein in it to take at least the quarter of the plate. Whatever the protein source is. So protein is in all meats, preferably a lean meat, also in all beans, lentils, tofu, lots of vegan vegan meat options, right? These burgers and sausages. I'm not saying they're the best, but they're still not too bad, and they can do the job. Protein can be protein powder, which you put into a protein shake. And you have to think that this protein must take a good amount of the plate. Also, the other part of your plate should be filled, the other quarter of the plate should be filled with carbohydrates. That could be rice, it could be potatoes, it could be a couple slices of bread, right? It could be some other vegetables. And the other half of the plate, mostly vegetables. And don't forget to add some healthy fats like avocado or just olive oil. You could use as well coconut oil, avocado oil, some olives, and these are pretty much the few things that we tend to use as healthy fat sources. So this is a very simple structure of a plate, right? And I will put an illustration on YouTube if you're watching the video on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to support my podcast and to learn many more tips like this. I'll be doing the podcast from start of your fat loss journey to the end of the fat loss journey. This will be the season 1. So if you watch the whole podcast, there's no doubt that you have received all the information that you need to lose weight. And if you don't do it, then you probably have other sort of issues in your mind which prevent you from taking action on what I'm teaching you, because what I'm teaching you is like exactly what I'm doing with my clients. So make sure you follow and subscribe to get this information. Now I'll put this illustration so you can see it right here. It's a very simple plate. Now with that portion size and with that portion structure that I'm giving you, if you apply it to your breakfast, to your lunch and to your dinner, I almost can guarantee you that you will start losing weight. The key is not to go over, to not go extreme. Like if you're having that normal portion size, don't fill it up and make it too big, right? Stick to the normal portion size that you have. It's very simple, guys. For breakfast, for lunch and for dinner, and stick with that. Don't snack in between the meals. It's very important because every snacking can add up calories. If you need to snack on something that's extremely low in calories, and practically avoid snacking as much as possible, or just go for 0-calorie stuff. And this is the one strategy that works, and this is how I live to stay lean all the time when I'm not really into like either building much muscle or trying to burn much fat. When I'm trying to maintain and I don't want to focus and worry about anything, I just do that. And I know if I just eat a little bit less, I usually tend to get leaner as long as I continue training. It's as simple as that. I'll give you now the second strategy. The second strategy is actually what I recommend to all of you. The first one is more for people who have some experience or those who don't have time or are a bit lazy. You're not mentally ready to push it, stretch yourself that much into doing way too many things. But the second strategy is really what you need to go through once per life. It is tracking your calories. Tracking calories is more than just being aware of how much you're eating every day. Tracking calories is a very educational process that you go through, and that's why I always push everybody to track your calories for at least a few months in your life. You'll find yourself in a situation where you track the same foods like every single day, because we only have that much variety. For example, the type of meats that I eat is like beef, chicken, tuna, like salmon, maybe lamb. And there's like a few types of meats that I eat, and that's my protein sources, right? It could be some vegan sources. Then we add a few types of carbohydrates that I usually eat, a few types of desserts, and the accumulation of the total amount of foods that we eat is probably less than 50, and 50 types of foods. And you're going to track these foods like every single day for a few months. You will memorize what they're made of. You will memorize how much protein they have, how many calories they have. Approximately, you will know it. So in future, that will then give you the advantage of just understanding, even if the foods that you're receiving in a restaurant have no labels, or you see them for the first time, you can kind of calculate in your mind roughly how many calories they have, and always stay safe and not gain fat and just maintain your body shape easily without really worrying about it. It sounds like you have to calculate everything all the time, and it's like a bit of a hard work, but it really is so simple. You don't think about how to brush your teeth and how much time you need to go on this on the left side and how many times you need to do it on the right side. You kind of have memorized this. It's very straightforward thing. Now you know this information, so the question that you probably have is how much calories you need to eat. You'll be tracking them, but you need to know what your goals are. And that's very simple to identify actually. If you go in Google and type TDEE calculator, this is total daily energy expenditure calculator. I have one in my website as well, pk.coach, which is very nice by the way, so you can just go there as well. And this calculator is gonna just ask you a few simple questions based on your height, on your weight, on your gender or sex. And it's going to tell you exactly how many calories you are burning within a day, plus minus 200 calories. And it's also going to ask you about your activities. So this will be the combination of your daily metabolic rate, or how much you're burning just by existing, and also in addition the movements that you have and the exercise that you're doing within the day. And take that figure that you're having there and take the lower number. Usually people can overestimate the amount of movement they do. You probably don't move as much as you think you are. If it says like you're sedentary and it gives you the number of 2,200 to lose weight and 2,400 to maintain and 2,600 to gain, if I'm you and I want to start burning fat, I'll just go like for 2,200 and see what happens, right? Go for the lowest number and just track your calories every day. So now the question is, how can you track them very efficiently? Because for you might seem like a very complicated task. Well, at first, until you get used to doing it, it might be a little bit of a headache, but then it becomes very easy. One of the things that you can do is download these apps, MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, which is my preferred app, but doesn't work in every single country and doesn't have the database from every country. So depending on where you are, MyFitnessPal is the worldwide, the most data-rich app for tracking your calories and macros. And inside, you're gonna start tracking it first, all the foods that you eat, and add them to favorites. And also you can create your own meals. So for example, if I have a shake, breakfast shake, which I do every morning, I have a shake instead of any other breakfast. And I add in my shake my protein, my milk, my banana, my walnuts. I might add some peanut butter. I can add 2 eggs. So if I know that I'm eating these things every single morning, I can just memorize them as a meal, and next morning I just go to the app, tap on that breakfast, and it's done. It's added to my daily calories. And you can do the same thing for lunch and for dinner. You can create your meals so they're ready, and you can easily add them. Also add the separate foods as favorites. So over the course of a week, you'll practically have your app working for you very efficiently. And when you go to eat, you probably have like 2 options. One option is the food that you're eating has labels. Just scan the label and type in what portion size you're eating at that time, which takes seconds. Or the other option is the food that you eat has no label and you need to wait. So you preferably, if you're eating at home, you will be weighing your foods, but sometimes you're in the office, you're outside, and you will have to guess it. And to do that right, you want to weigh it sometimes at home. So every time you're eating at home, make sure to spend a few minutes to weigh your food, to see how it looks like. Pay attention how big it is. So when you go outside, eat takeout or go in a restaurant and they just deliver a plate full of food and it's all mixed up, you can then estimate what's going on and add it to your app as well. They bring me a plate with risotto and chicken. I'll look at the chicken, I'll say that's no more than 100 grams. Boom, chicken breast 100 grams. Don't type in risotto with chicken, but type in the ingredients, right? That's very important. And then the rice, how much rice is in there? 200 grams. Boom, the rice 200 grams. So now I know how much I've eaten, and that might put me a little bit off balance. For example, if I eat that at lunch, that will be more carbs than protein, and I need more protein. So make sure then I go to dinner and I start having more protein for dinner and less carbs. And I will, additionally as a tip, I will give you a ratio that you can apply to your macros. So the macros are your carbohydrates, your protein, and your fats. So you have your calories, let's say you have to eat 2,200 calories, but how much of that should be protein, how much it should be carbohydrates, and how much it should be fat. Listen to this, 45% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 25% fats. If you play with these numbers a little bit, plus minus 5% on each, it's not gonna be a big problem. Your protein is most important, your carbohydrates is a second, and the fats are third. Often you will find that you're eating a lot of fats in comparison to the protein or the carbohydrates in terms of calories, because fats are actually 2 times more caloric, even more than 9 calories per gram, compared to the carbohydrates and the protein, which have only 4 calories per gram. So every time you consume a little bit of fat, it really puts your calories very high. So you need to be careful how much fat you're eating. And you will see that, but that's not going to be a problem as long as you stay within your caloric window. And you want to make sure that you're hitting your protein target. The protein is the most important macronutrient that you can eat. Once I was on a big group call on Clubhouse, and one of our guys asked the question, it was a trivia question: if you live on a lonely island and you can only choose to eat one macronutrient, which one would it be if you want to live forever, or like the longest? And we had the fat, the carbohydrates, and the protein. A lot of us answered the question wrongly, and then he said, no, the answer is actually protein. Protein is the one macronutrient that we can, first of all, we need to use for our body to repair it. We also can break it down and turn it to carbohydrates. We can literally break down the protein and turn it to glycogen and use it for energy in the same way that we use the carbohydrates. And we can also turn the protein into fat. We can store enough carbohydrates, which will then transition into fat storage. So theoretically, we can turn the protein into everything, but we can't turn any of the other macronutrients into protein. So protein can only be consumed with food. We can't just make it up from anything else. We have to consume it. So that's reason number one why you should always be eating a lot of protein. Reason number two is protein is massively going to help you lose weight and stay satiated. So protein satiates you a lot. The protein-rich foods, if you notice them, they're very low in calories and they're very big in size. For example, you can compare 100 grams of chicken breast and 100 grams of chocolate. Visibly the same size, but that 100 grams of chocolate might have 600 calories. The 100 grams of the chicken breast will have 225 calories. So much lower calories for the size that you're eating. Also, it's very hard to digest. So protein will stay in your stomach and it will keep you full for much longer. And it actually triggers the hormones that trigger satiation. Whereas if you eat carbohydrates, they make you actually hungrier. They make your glucose level spike up, your insulin level spike up. As a result, then your hunger as well spikes up. So sometimes when you eat a lot of calories and carbohydrates, you end up feeling even hungrier, and that's why people binge eat. But if you eat a lot of protein, you start feeling satiated very quickly. So it's a very, very good hack. It fills you up, it's low in calories. Also, not to mention that the thermal effect of the protein is very high. It's about 35% of the protein goes for its own consumption, for its own metabolization. So you practically, from 100 grams of protein, you end up absorbing into your body about 65 or 70 grams, which is great, makes it even better in comparison to fats, where we don't even spend any energy on metabolizing fat. The fat just goes straight in. We use something stupid like 1.5% or maybe even less. For the carbohydrates, they use about 10 to 15%. The protein just it's a great food to eat. So eat as much of the protein as you can. The ratio that I gave you, which is like 45% of carbs, 25% of fats, and 30% of protein, you can change that. And if you want to help yourself, just eat more protein. Make the protein 35, 40%, 50%, that's fine. On my cheat days, when I don't want to stick to any diet and I just want to eat a lot, I just eat a lot of protein. I don't eat a lot of cakes. I don't eat a lot of fats, but I eat hell of a lot of chicken or beef or fish. And I just eat a lot of the protein, and that helps me massively. So now you know the two strategies that are the main ones. One is the smart portion control, and the other one is tracking your calories and doing it in an efficient way so you don't waste a lot of your time. The third strategy that can also help you is restricting your feeding window. Time restricted feeding is the correct term. And you can decide to eat in 6-hour window in a given day. And that could look like you start eating for lunch and then you finish dinner at about 6 and you only eat in this window. But keep in mind that even in this window, it's still very easy to overeat. So you need to understand the other two strategies before you dive into this one and think that just is going to help you. Often when you cut out the breakfast or you cut out dinner, in the first few days you feel like, oh yes, this is working. But then your hunger and your emotions will just naturally make you eat a little bit more and a little bit more. And unless you are restricting yourself to not add any more food to the normal place that you eat or to not snack in between, you are going to end up having just bigger meals within the small eating window that you have, and you're going to put yourself in maintenance or maybe even start gaining weight. Now, as I said, I hope you keep watching, because after the strategies I want to now give you a few myths that you should avoid, mistakes that you don't want to do, and you actually see them being promoted absolutely everywhere, and all of them are bullshit. You want to stick to what's true, so let's dive into them. I have my laptop here to help me read through the points so I don't forget any of them, because they're so important. First one, you need to eat 6 small meals a day, or 2 small meals, or 5 small meals, or 1 meal. There is no set amount of meals that you need to be eating to lose weight or stay fit. Everybody is different. You might feel comfortable having breakfast, somebody else might feel like he doesn't want to have breakfast. What really matters is you find what really sticks for you, what makes it sustainable. For somebody who is like doing night shifts, or some gamer that he's playing on his games like until the morning, he might want to eat overnight, and that might be fine for him. But for you, with a family, with a business, you might feel better having breakfast with the kids, lunch at work, and dinner with the family as well. And this time with your family will matter a lot in your life. So for you, the most important part is that the eating schedule that you have sticks and you love it. There is no set amount of meals, and they will make zero difference to the way you perform and the way you feel. They only make a difference if you personally feel better with eating that much or that often, right? The second one that we have, carbs after 6 p.m. make you fat. That is also not a bullshit. What matters is the volume, the amount of food that you eat in a 24-hour cycle. Eating a lot of carbs late in the night can affect the way you sleep, the quality of your sleep, yes, but it's not as dramatic as you think. You can eat your carbs for dinner, don't worry about it. Unless you like going really overboard and eating a huge pizza like in 10 o'clock at night. That might affect the way you sleep. Consecutively, the way you sleep is going to affect your performance in the next day, leading to negative behaviors, which then can lead to you gaining fat. But the food alone, it's not making you fat in any way. What matters is, again, 24-hour consumption period. Next one we have, you need to do hours of cardio or train a lot in the gym. As you mentioned so far in the episode, I haven't spoken about any training. That's because it's not necessary to lose fat. Training is necessary to preserve the muscle, to build muscle, and to maintain your metabolism fast. But it's not necessary to burn fat. In fact, if you spend a lot of time doing cardio without resistance training, your metabolism is going to slow down. In fact, if you spend hours doing cardio frequently throughout the week, your body is going to adapt to that cardio, because it's such a simple and easy movement and you're doing it for a long time. It's going to become efficient, and that cardio within the couple of weeks or 3 weeks is going to burn less calories for you. Your body is going to become very efficient, and if you're not training your muscles, you're going to also start burning down your muscles, breaking them down and losing them, which will lead to you burning even less calories. So doing a lot of cardio is a massive trap, very common one, which leads you to burn much less calories over the 24-hour cycle, and you will be forced to eat less and less and less and less and less food until it becomes unbearable, and you start eating more and you find yourself like running for hours and you keep gaining weight. And that actually happens often. So don't do that mistake. You don't need cardio to lose fat. Maybe once a week for good health, or do it in the right way if you're going to do it at all. The next one we have adding coconut oil to your coffee like a bulletproof coffee. That can be like the biggest bullshit I've heard in the last decade. Bulletproof coffee. it's a hell of a lot of nonsense. Bulletproof coffee comes from the keto diet because people want to optimize the way their body metabolizes fat, which also doesn't make any sense because they're only consuming protein and fat, and also might be for people who want to add additional calories to their diet on their keto. But for a normal human being who is not doing keto, bulletproof coffee is the biggest bullshit you can do. There's no chance you consume more calories through fats or whatever you put in that coffee and you expect to lose more fat. Like, think about it. Don't fall for these stupid trends. Just when you hear somebody talking about it, just, ignore it, because that's just sad, to be honest, that this kind of bullshit is popular and people talk about it and they expect it's going to make a change. Next one, cutting out carbs is the only way. A lot of you have heard about zero carbs diets and low carbs diets. That will help you lose fat. That will probably help you because it's very hard to overeat on protein. But is it sustainable is the most important question. And if you're somebody who has no prior experience with dieting, who have relatively bad relationship with food, and you're just eating a lot of carbs and you just love them, cutting them out is going to make you feel miserable and it's not sustainable. And first of all, it's not sustainable, not necessary at all. I don't cut out the carbs because I just love them and I need them. I actually perform better when I have some carbs. When you cut out the carbs, your energy will be low, and I mean very low. You feel like shit. You might feel okay at the beginning, the first few days, but trust me, stick with it. You will start hating that and you will want your carbs. So cutting out carbs is an unsustainable way and it's not necessary to burn fat. Earlier on, I explained exactly what's necessary to burn fat, and this is just another myth or trend, together with all the other fat diets like low carb, carb cycling, keto diet, intermittent fasting. None of that really matters if it's not sustainable and it's not sticking in your life. That is the most important part of this dieting process and fat loss journey, that you do something that you can live with, right? So you can maintain it for the rest of your life and not bounce back and gain twice more weight. So I hope you found value in this episode. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. You will help my channel grow, my podcast be more popular, and share it with a friend who needs to listen to this knowledge and this advice every single day. I'm trying to give you practical advice and tactical, not just science that you don't know how to apply. Because it's one thing in my experience to learn something and another thing is to apply it. Applying the information that we receive to our life and making it work, that is the hardest part in anything that you're trying to do. And fitness, exercising and dieting, there's no difference. It's actually very hard for many of you because you haven't been trained as kids. So you grew up without having any knowledge or any experience doing that. So it's very hard. Don't underestimate it and take my advice of coaching advice, which tells you how to do things. It's going to make a massive difference. In the next episode, I will answer a question that you're probably having, which is what to do if your weight stops dropping, if you're plateauing. Well, this is actually happening a lot and it's normal. And I'll tell you how to handle this plateauing, the most common reasons and solutions that you can apply and get out of the situation of being stuck very quickly. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.